Right then, let's move on. I want to talk about Florian Wirtz. I think it was about 5 hours after we recorded last week and we were saying like the noise is out to Liverpool, where Liverpool like him, of course we like him and we'd like to be in the conversation, but Bayern Munich are the favourites. And then on Friday I was down at the Red Weekend getting ready for the boss night and to watch that, and then all the reporting came out that like he'd made his mind that he wants to join Liverpool. Since then, Paul, you've written here, and I've got the article on the Echo's website, everything the Echo know about Florian Wirtz's transfer as Liverpool set for £125 million talks. Go and read it. We'll put a link in the description, all that kind of stuff. Go and check out it on the Liverpool Echo's website. But Paul, Cliff Notes, tell me everything the Echo knows about Florian Wirtz's transfer to Liverpool. Then,
yeah, I mean, Liverpool are confident that they will get this deal over the line. I think what it is fair to say is I've had a few people say, Liverpool are going to be announcing Wirtz on Friday, and it's not quite that advanced at this stage. I think, the deal that will be a club record transfer fee, whatever the agreement eventually is, means that it could take some time before, the numbers are sort of work for Leverkusen and for Liverpool. It's, what Liverpool feel they are getting is an unbelievable player. Bundesliga Player of the Year, twice recently announced, wasn't it? So, with 22-year-old German international with the best years of his career ahead of him, and they are prepared to smash their transfer record for him. Now, it's just a case of waiting to see what that eventual figure is. Liverpool are in talks. Richie Hughes, I was speaking to someone recently who described them as the best in the business, someone at Liverpool, and that's reflected in the piece. And, there is confidence that he will be able to get this deal over the line. And I think you're looking at what's just come out this morning, the news for Trent Alexander-Arnold, that Liverpool are getting £10 million for a player who was essentially out the door. Probably shows you how good he is at negotiating. So, Liverpool feel they've got their best man on the job. He is in contact with Simon Rolfes, the Bayer Leverkusen counterpart, the sporting director there. He was quoted on Monday at Erik ten Hag's unveiling, replacing Xabi Alonso as the new head coach, that Liverpool's interest is concrete and firm. And talks have been ongoing. And there was the news come out last week, didn't it? The formal talks have started, and the conversation that I had with someone last Friday was that this idea of it being formal talks is probably a bit, inaccurate. Talks have been ongoing while they've been in discussions with Jeremy Frimpong as well. So I think it's a case of seeing what was possible, and now that the Wirtz family and the player himself have given their thumbs up to Liverpool's charm offensive, Liverpool are now sort of stepping that up a fair few notches. So nothing close by any means, according to the information I have, but very much that Liverpool have won this race, and now it is about getting sort of an agreement in place with Leverkusen, who have sort of reluctantly accepted that he's going to move on. I think they are pleased that he's not going to be joined by Bayern Munich, because that would be moving straight to a new rival, wouldn't it? So he is being ushered towards England, and we know the money in England is greater than anywhere else in European football, so that's good news for Leverkusen, I guess. So, we shall await to see what's next. But, I think Liverpool confident that they can get this deal done, and Richard Hughes is taking the lead on the negotiations. On that, the fee is going to be interesting, because, like you say, there's numerous numbers out there. There always is in this kind of thing. Liverpool, by all accounts, are going to have to... It says £125 million, and we don't know what they're going to pay. Is this just a case now of maybe Leverkusen and Liverpool just not even so much the valuation, maybe the structure of the fee, that kind of stuff, because you like to think they've got a rough idea, both of them, of what they're looking for and what they're willing to pay. Otherwise, you are miles away, really. It feels more along the lines of maybe structure of a deal that needs all that kind of stuff needs sorting out. Yeah, and you look at Liverpool's, there's a bit of conjecture over what Liverpool's club record transfer is. Virgil van Dijk was 75 million in January 2018, and Darwin Núñez was 85 million in the summer of 2022. But that was £21 million worth of add-ons that may not have all necessarily been unlocked. The information I had on Núñez at the time was that 10 million of it were going to be sort of easily achievable appearance-based add-ons. So I think it's fair to say across these 3 seasons that they were reached. So that would take it up to 75 million, which would be a sort of club equaling fee. And then the rest of it was based around, success in terms of winning the Premier League and or the Champions League, and he's obviously become a Premier League winner at Liverpool. So I think it might be fair to say that around £80 million was laid out for Darwin Núñez. So this fee for Wirtz is probably going to smash that considerably. And I think you're right to say that the structure of it is going to be the interesting part. You know, Liverpool, like I say, committed £21 million worth of add-ons for Núñez, so there's going to be a similar thing here, and could it even be more? You know, could it? It all depends on how it's structured, and what I would say rather is Liverpool maybe in uncharted territory here in terms of the size of the fee. You know, they don't make habits of bringing in players for £100 million and upwards, do they? So it's going to be fascinating to see how this deal is structured if they can reach an agreement. Yeah,
hopefully they can. Like I say, it'd be a shame now if they don't. Geez, that'd be quite something. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. First of all, in the piece it says the Anfield. It says Richard Hughes was described as the best in the business by club sources last week. Is this he's managed? Because there was a lot of conjecture about Richard Hughes, and he didn't really do much last year. Like in terms of signings, really, it wasn't much going on. I know there was a lot of eyebrows raised because this was reported like people in football really praising him because he hadn't really done much. But is this just another example that maybe the work he's done, finding out the availability, maybe him and Arne Slot convincing Florian Wirtz to come to Liverpool? Is this kind of why people are seemingly singing the praises of Richard Hughes now?
Yeah, I think last summer, he obviously spoke, didn't he, at the press conference, and he spoke about it being opportunistic, and I think a lot of people maybe took that in a bit of a negative light and maybe saw it as Liverpool were looking to maybe scrimp and save and look for sort of bargain deals here or there, and the move for Federico Chiesa maybe summed all that up. But opportunistic as well can mean a lot of things, and it can mean that you spot an opportunity to bring in the Bundesliga Player of the Year ahead of Bayern Munich and ahead of Manchester City. So I think there was a very broad spectrum to Richard Hughes' words last summer. He's obviously got Van Dijk and Salah over the line. You know, possibly could have made Trent Alexander-Arnold one of the highest paid fullbacks in world football, but he had his heart set on Real Madrid, so that one falls by the wayside. So you win two to three of the big battles, I guess. So I think it's fair to say that he's done really well getting Salah over the line, getting Van Dijk over the line, and we spoke so much to me about those two on this show over the last year, particularly with Salah, because I think that was maybe a bit more difficult to do, but both were done, and I think that has sort of increased Richard Hughes' standing in football, you know, figures within football, within the industry itself, and just speaking to people about him, and you know, someone described him as the best in the business, and they also said that it could be an exciting summer. So I think there is a confidence that he can get Florian Wirtz over the line.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Florian Wirtz then, the player, because this is, you mentioned before, quite a norm. Quite a departure from the norm, Paul, in that I'm trying to think Liverpool have signed high-profile players in the past. You know, they won the battle, like say for Alisson, they won the battle for Virgil van Dijk, although both of those perhaps not as high-profile, I guess, in terms of where they were coming from and things like that. And maybe who else was interested and stuff like that. They definitely signed Thiago, who was definitely a superstar, but he was aged a little bit. You know, he was very much coming towards the end a little bit now. And again, fantastic player, but quite the injuries maybe caught up with him. This is like this Florian Wirtz again. If it happens, and we've got to make sure that I'll keep clarifying that's not done yet. It is a massive move from Liverpool. It's one of the biggest. In terms of money, it's going to be the biggest transfer. Just in terms of like acting in the market, it is completely on another stratosphere than anything they've ever done.
Yeah, and this is why, you know, we've said loads that it's difficult to second guess Liverpool, you know, with the new regime coming in last summer, Richard Hughes and Arne Slot, as opposed to the way it was previously with Jurgen Klopp having the lion's share of the say. And, you know, when Michael Edwards was there, you could sort of get a feel for what might have been true, what might have been a little bit more speculative in terms of transfer links and stuff like that. But this one, we're almost learning on the job, aren't we, as to what might be true and what might be a little bit of creative license and whatever else you want to call it. So I think it's why it's really exciting to see that Liverpool are hugely sort of in the mix for Wirtz to begin with, and now they've somehow won that race. You know, Slot's charm offensive by all accounts far outweighed what was being put across to him from the Bayern Munich end with Vincent Kompany, and one of the things that jumped off the page at me was some reports in Germany that Bayern Munich's sort of confidence in their briefing to journalists here or there that they were going to get the man almost annoyed Wirtz and his family. You know, it irritated them a bit because he was very much undecided on what his next move was. So how much of that has had a decision in him choosing Liverpool, I don't know. But it's massively exciting for Liverpool that they are sort of looking to tie up a deal for a player this exciting, you know, a creative number 10 who can play in a number of positions with his best years ahead of him. You're almost looking beyond an era of Mo Salah, and you think that Florian Wirtz can take up the mantle and become Liverpool's new superstar for the next few years. So, like I say, work to be done. But I think supporters have got every right to be massively encouraged and excited about what's to come in this summer transfer window.
And last one, just in terms of the players, it's going to be fascinating to see what the plan is.
Yeah.
Because obviously, again, I don't know whether the plan was always we're going to go and sign in number 10, or actually we're just going to get Florian Wirtz because he's available and he's dead good. But like, it is a move away from what we've been used to from under Arne Slot. Like I say, Arne Slot took over the squad, added one guy to it and didn't really play him ever. And it'll be fascinating to see does he want to play with an actual proper number 10, old school number 10? Does he want him doing what McAllister did? Does he want him doing what Szoboszlai does? Does talk about he can play up front, he can go either wing as well. It will be fascinating to see, because when you buy a player and you break your club record for him, like, the aim is that he's going to be the man. That was the plan with Darwin. It was the plan with Virgil. He has to be the man, because you can't put him on your bench, obviously. So it'll be interesting. And what do you think Arne Slot's thinking here in terms of how he sees Florian Wirtz adding to this team? Because he is a superstar player, and a lot of the players are going to have to go in and around and through him. Yeah,
so it was interesting. He spoke before the Brighton game that Szoboszlai prefers to play deeper, and he's given him a go in his preferred position as opposed to the more sort of advanced of the midfield
right
three.
Didn't he, as well?
Yeah, he had a good game. He scored a good goal, didn't he, if he meant it or not. But I thought he played well. So I think maybe next season you're looking at it in terms of Szoboszlai, Jones, Gravenberch and McAllister as the 4 going into 2. You can rest and you can rotate more there. And I think we will see more rotation because he trusts all 4 of those players. And I think he's shown that, this season, playing pretty much 3 of the 4 every week, hasn't he? And the other one who hasn't played has been the first off the bench, if you like, the first cab off the rank. So I think those 4 might be the 2, filling those 2 positions. And then you've got, with an ideal world, touch wood, Florian Wirtz operating as the most advanced, and maybe Harvey Elliott to rest and rotate with Wirtz. But also, I could see a world where he's almost operating as a number 9 as well. Looking to supply the wide forwards, your Gakpo, your Diaz, Mo Salah, and they're still maybe going to be expected to supply the lion's share of the goal contributions. So I think there's a few ways that he can play, but I think if you're bringing in a player of that magnitude and that cost, that he's going to need to play in his preferred position, and you're going to need to get the best out of him in the position he feels most comfortable. And I think by all accounts that is what has won the day, really, with Slot sort of showing to him with his level of detail that this is where he's going to play and this is where he can thrive as a Premier League superstar.
I was about to say, you're not going to win the race for him with the present of saying, like, we're going to bring it in and we'll figure it out, mate.
Yeah.
Like, they know what they want with him. It'll be fascinating to see what it is. My guess is, like you say, probably that right-hand side midfield role or whatever, just advanced. He's going to be fantastic. Hopefully Liverpool can sign him. Keep an eye out on the channel. Of course, if anything breaks, anything develops, we'll keep it updated. But as it stands, that is the latest on the Florian Wirtz situation.